Today on TechNado, we'll be talking with Sholi Rosen from CyberArmor about a zero-trust environment in DevOps. We're also going to have a little bit of fun this week as it's a holiday week and look at a bunch of crazy articles from the past year. That's all coming up on TechNado, starting right now. Hello and welcome to TechNado. I'm your host, Peter Van Rysdam, joined as always by Don Pizzette. Don, how you doing?
Hey, I am doing great. Excited to be here. It's going to be a fun episode.
It is. And Justin Dennison, how are you?
I am doing fantastic.
How were your Thanksgivings, gentlemen?
Not sure.
Yeah, this is coming out on Cyber Monday, but we actually are filming it the week before because
one of us might get injured during the great Cyber Monday. Well, no, we'd get injured during a Black Friday sale. Yeah,
Yeah,
Already get injured.
It's hard to get injured when you don't leave the house.
Carpal
'cause you
tunnel.
hate people.
It's on Best Buy's website. Got punched in the face.
It was weird. Hit me with a refrigerator.
Alexa, please hit me in the face. Got it? Thank you.
All I know is I'll take a punch in the face for a discount on a 40-inch television.
Oh, heck yeah.
40-inch. You're lowballing yourself nowadays,
Oh,
Don.
sorry.
It's at least 65
I'm
inches.
not up on my television tech.
Yeah. And it's like 2 pounds.
Yeah.
Love those things. All right, we do have a guest today. We're joined by Sholi Rosen, who is a co-founder and CEO at CyberArmor. So we'll be doing that in a little bit. But today for the news, since we don't know what's going on in the future, we thought we would take a look back at our favorite WTF stories.
There's a lot of articles that don't make the high-quality standards of TechNado and get cut from the show. So today we're going to loosen that belt a little bit and go back and catch some of those.
And you know what's cool? This time around, we're going to be trying this new soundboard here for some fun little sounds. So our first article deals with crime and punishment. Oh, there it goes. This is like a little delay. I wasn't sure if it was going to work. And we're just making sure this all works. Here we go. Yeah. So this one is at the HuffPost.com. Police catch parked motorist playing Pokemon Go on 8 different phones. The driver in Washington State was pulled off on a road shoulder, spot supposed to be used only for emergencies. He did have his flashers on. But when they looked in his car, he had this contraption with like 8 phones put together.
After the officer detained the suspect, he said, "Got to catch them all."
Oh, man.
That's shoot. I'm just getting used to
Rim
this rim
shot.
All right.
Can you say the joke again? No.
They did post a picture of the contraption the guy was using. I've got it pulled up here on my laptop. He basically took a piece of styrofoam and cut it out to fit near his gear shift, I guess. And he has 8 cell phones rigged up and playing Pokemon. Now, I haven't played this game, so I don't actually know. Do you have to interact with the phone, or does it play itself?
No, you've got to like catch the Pokemon. You've got to like throw a Pokeball. I've never played it myself either, but I've seen. So you're like doing something on the phone. So I guess
We should have brought somebody in.
catching
Have you
it
played
8
it?
times?
No, I have not played it. But I just see Peter go, I haven't played it at all. But you got to throw the
No,
ball
I'm
I'm a
out
level
and catch it.
27.
I'm familiar with. There's a lot of things that I haven't done that I'm aware of.
That's not how that works.
Okay.
That defense doesn't work in court.
Yeah.
Just saying.
So I guess this didn't count as distracted driving because he was pulled over, but the police did ask him to put it in the back seat while he was driving,
Like an
which
open container.
It's distracting enough to have.
I don't think that's how that works.
Does that work? Like an open container in the back seat still counts, doesn't it?
It does.
See, I have a Jeep, and so I don't have like a trunk.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, how far does it have to be out of reach? Is that?
Yeah,
You can lock it in the glove.
So
box.
I got a truck, right? And everything's within reach inside of my truck. Well, how do you transport if it's already open? Like, you're not drinking it, but here.
on the way home, I'm not
going
going to leave my half-open bottle of Fireball for.
Yeah, I think you're supposed to transport it in your stomach.
which is, I don't know which is better. I don't know which is better. Is it the Pokemon or not? But I think this demonstrates how people think if you turn on your hazard lights, you can do whatever you want to.
Well, you know, that was interesting because it mentioned he did actually get in trouble because pulling over on the side of the road is reserved for emergencies, and catching Pikachu or whatever doesn't count as an emergency.
I disagree.
I wonder if he could have argued, like, if it was a really rare one.
That you could have made money on. I'm sure there's like a secondary market for this stuff.
I don't know. Can you sell the pokey things you catch?
I don't know.
Oh, God, I hope not.
I think you can. They don't have souls.
That's the rule. All right, our next article is a lot of fun, and it's from the real news. This one's at Reuters.com.
The real news.
Yeah, no, this is like where the news gets the news from, AP and Reuters. Romania's witches harness the power of the web. That's Romania's witches. And so, Don, you were really excited about this one, so why don't you tell us about this?
You know, there are a lot of traditional occupations around this planet that, you know, some have become discredited. I think most witchcraft has. I think it's great that they've embraced technology, and now you can make a Skype call and get online with a authentic Romanian witch, and they'll do tarot readings and so on. Some of the things they describe in the article are pretty amazing. I think there were like 8 or 9 of them that got together for a coven to curse a government leader that was, I don't know, passing some laws they didn't like. It totally makes sense.
Did it work?
But, you know, they didn't follow up with that. We should find out. But they do mention that for roughly $56 American, you can get a tarot reading. And it reminded me of something I stumbled on about 2 years ago. There was a supposed breach of, what was the service? TeamViewer. Have you ever used TeamViewer?
I have, yeah.
And they were denying it. And so I started doing research, looking for other articles and things. And I scanned across Twitter to see if anybody had posted anything about TeamViewer. And I discovered, it's not like I discovered, I'm the first person ever, this thing exists. This whole counterculture of basically,
I'm getting interested.
The appropriate word here, like S&M people that use TeamViewer to subjugate people. And so, you know, any profession can be successful on the internet.
Wait, is that like digital submission? I don't know.
I tracked down a Wired article that explained it, and it was saying how like they would lock somebody's computer and they wouldn't let them unlock it unless they debased themselves somehow. It was really crazy stuff. People are disturbed.
How do we not have that article?
Yeah. Also, I feel like somebody's going to get an email about that article or something. Be like, look what Don looked up.
Yeah.
It's
well,
weird.
It's in my Twitter history now. I didn't like follow them.
All right, so we're gonna do this, right?
I really think we should. I think we should get a tarot reading on Technado. I don't know how we line this up exactly.
Yeah, well, I'll look into that. I'm sure they're pretty backed up now.
I'll spring for the $56.
Yeah, no, that's a no-brainer.
It's like a good investment.
Witches got to eat, you know. So
$56 and a drop of your blood.
Good for them. Well, we're heading back over to Crime and Punishment, so let's bring that up there. All right, this one is on arstechnica.com, and I don't know if I'm allowed to play this song, but we're going to give it a try. Cops put GPS tracker on man's car, okay, charge him with theft for removing it. Cops tracked the man's car because they suspected he was dealing meth. So if you can't get him for dealing, you get him for theft of your property that you put in his car?
I've talked to some cops before where they're like, we'll follow suspected drug dealers around just looking for minor traffic infractions. Mm-hmm. Like smoking a cigarette, throwing it out the window, we pull you over, now we have probable cause because we're like, hey. But how do you say, I'm going to put this on your person, and when you leave with it and go, hey, this isn't mine, and put it somewhere else, how is that stealing? Isn't the leaving part the stealing?
So it's a garbage argument, and the judges acknowledge that. The judges said, look, if a assassin or somebody, puts a tracking device on my car and I find it and I destroy it, they shouldn't be able to sue me. Like, that's not how this works. But the other argument, the argument the police were using, is that they didn't just do this without permission. They actually had a warrant to do it. So they feel that because the courts authorized them to put the tracker there, that this person destroying the tracker then constitutes theft. But that guy has no idea who put the tracker there. It's not like it has written.
You don't think it said, if found, please return to the sheriff's office?
And bring your meth with.
So I was in customs once in Newark, New Jersey, And they had a sign. I know I hate Newark. Sorry for our Newark listeners, but your airport is evil. So there's this sign.
Sorry, but yeah.
and it said it was like things they had found. And you were supposed to come and put a claim in or they'd dispose of it. And one of them was like a pallet of 2,000 imitation Gucci purses. And there was another one that was marijuana. It was like, we found this marijuana. And they had to put up a claims notice in case somebody wanted to claim that lost item. So,
Yeah, and just step right into this room here for the...
that's mine.
Yeah.
Oh, is it? Come with us, sir. Come with us.
It would be like that NBC Dateline guy.
Yeah.
Chris Hansen.
Why do you have wine coolers?
Oh, man, you got me.
Duct tape.
I was just here for my counterfeit purses.
You should wait until New Jersey, inevitably makes it legal, and then all of a sudden see if you can still file a claim. Yeah. Yep, left pallet here. Just heard about it.
Yeah.
Heard about it on January 1st. Let's do it. All right. Love this article because right from the beginning I've got a problem. So this one is on CNN, and I cannot even get the headline to read because of this stupid ad. Do you see this? There we go. The flat Earth conspiracy is spreading around the globe. Does it hide a darker core? So around the globe. First of all, I don't like them just calling it a conspiracy right in the headline because that's for me to decide.
Yeah.
CNN, you can inform, I'll decide. But what is its darker core here?
If the Earth were flat, would it have a core, or would that just be the bottom layer?
So it's my understanding there's like a subset that argue that if it is round, then it's hollow.
Well, that's where the lizard people live.
Yeah.
Yeah. We all saw Land Before Time, or what was it with Will Ferrell? It was awesome. The remake of the 70s show.
Oh, yeah.
Land of the Lost.
Yeah, Land of the Lost.
Land Before Time. It's like, that's
did you just get eaten by a dinosaur? I don't know.
Like Lee Stacks and all those guys.
The dinosaurs just moved under the core.
So there was a couple of alarming things from here. It's actually a fairly lengthy article that goes through this. There are parts of it that I couldn't quite get all the way through. But something that got me is 1 in 6 Americans are not entirely certain the world is round.
1 in 6 Americans have never flown in an airplane, apparently.
Yeah.
I've heard arguments about that, though, that they believe basically when you get in an airplane, you're seeing a simulation or you're drugged. They're putting gas in the air and you're falling asleep. And they have an answer for everything.
Well, I mean, airline service is pretty poor, so it wouldn't put it past
Those
them.
windows are a little curved, too. That could cause a little bit of curvature.
There was another individual that was making the argument that convincing us that the world is round was the work of Satan.
Mm-hmm. All right.
His whole job is to convince the world that God doesn't exist, and he's done an incredible job convincing people that we are a random speck in the infinite universe, and being a round globe is part of that lie. I don't... So, real quick, have y'all ever met a flat earther in real life?
I'm sure I have, but I
had met Satan. But
well,
do you accept Satan in all his works? No. I'm sure I have, but I've not met someone under that pretense.
Me either. I was just they say it's growing.
I mean, statistically, someone in your family is a flat earther.
Well,
wait, what was the number you said?
1 in 6.
1 in 6 is not entirely sure. That doesn't mean they're a flat earther.
Oh, okay.
They're just open to the possibility.
But yeah, I'm questioning.
But
questioning.
The final argument that people can continue to propagate this was, it's not going to hurt anybody. It's fine if we think the world's flat. It's not going to hurt anybody. Do you think that's true?
Well, until you fall off the edge. Then a lot of people get hurt.
Or that giant cruise ship to Antarctica to go to the edge?
Yeah.
I would say that believing the Earth is flat wouldn't necessarily hurt you, but letting other people know that you believe the Earth is flat would hurt you. Certainly, your employment opportunities.
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
yeah. Would you hire a flat earther if they were a great, pen tester?
I mean, Copernicus. People thought he was nutso, and he turned out to be right. Although,
but it's really weird because way before then, so the Greeks thought the world was round, and then we devolved. They might have thought it was a geocentric universe, but they measured the distance by casting shadows, and they were like, the only way that can happen is if the world is round, if the Earth is round. And then we're like, nah, it's definitely flat. And then, boom, now we have pictures of the Earth from space.
Us on a giant turtle.
Yeah.
Have you seen those?
Yeah, I have.
That's fantastic. I mean, that's just like, oh, okay, well, I can see your argument, so it's flat. Okay. I'm sorry, turtle? And what's he walking on?
Yeah.
Or he's just floating?
Stephen King, It, right? Like, wasn't it a giant space turtle or whatever that was helping them? I blame Stephen King for this.
All right.
That would be weird if 20 years from now we find out that this all started because of like a weird excerpt from a Stephen King novel.
If you read It, right, there was Pennywise the space spider, and then there was the giant magical turtle. That was the two.
So I have to admit, I've never actually read the book.
Yeah, neither have I.
Yeah, you can take a pass on it. I can save you a lot of time.
Okay. Were the movies better?
No, I mean, none of them are good.
I don't read books, so I'm much smarter than a flat earther.
Because reading's dumb.
Yeah. Take that, flat earthers.
Picture book?
Hey, maybe what you just hypothesized there kind of supports our next article, which is sci-fi makes you stupid. Study refuted by scientists behind original research. So after finding readers devoted less attention to science fiction than literary fiction, researchers say quality determines comprehension, not genre. Okay, so I'm confused by this. So the sci-fi makes you stupid was refuted now, so it no longer makes you stupid?
So the same researchers published a new finding, if you will, that sci-fi doesn't make you stupid. It's the quality of the work. So the original research that said, hey, sci-fi makes you dumb. They took a story and they just made all these changes to be sci-fi tropes. Like, oh, it's a robot and an alien and all this. But it was just a bad story. Yeah, it was a horrible story. And people, their metric was people did not comprehend as much from the story after reading it. Well, in the new, so they're like, oh, it makes you dumb if it's sci-fi.
But then they remembered all of Shawshank Redemption.
Well, that's a great story, though.
It is.
It's a Stephen King story, isn't it?
That is a Stephen King
story.
That's not
but I tell you what, if Andy Dufresne was a robot, I still argue it would have been a great story.
It would have changed everything.
Yeah, it would have changed everything. Be like, why is he?
Oh, he just ate through the bars.
Oh, that's
metal
he didn't even
teeth.
have to go through the poop. But the new study is they changed one word and an accepted, like a story that was already accepted to be a good one. They changed a name to a robot.
And just once, like not all throughout the story. They just acknowledged that that person was a robot in like the first sentence.
Yeah.
And everything else was the same.
And people had the same reading comprehension, so they said, oh, well, it's not sci-fi. It's just whether the story's good or not. But those aren't equivalent.
Yeah.
Those aren't equivalent findings.
I think, Peter, for you, with a marketing background, you probably see this. Like the human mind is an incredibly complex thing. There's 1,000 different factors that influence whether somebody likes or dislikes something. So just throwing two stories in front of somebody is pretty hard to make a decision like sci-fi makes you stupid.
Yeah, it's something we deal with a lot in like A/B testing. People will say, oh, I want to test this email versus that one. Okay, so in this one, I'm going to change the headline. Oh, I'm going to make this purple, and I'm going to put the call to action at the bottom. It's like, whoa, you got to change one thing, and then we can see, was it that effect, or otherwise you don't
unless
know
you do an appropriate experimental design where you can do like analysis of variance or something. But
that sounds like
that
math.
was not. It is math, but there's programs that will do it for you.
Good. Okay.
You just input the data.
Because again, I'm in marketing.
It would be one of these things that if they were my, maybe like my PI or something for grad school, I'd go, we're doing what? Seems like I'm going to need to go somewhere else because this doesn't seem valid. By and large, maybe I just took offense because I read sci-fi and I don't find myself dumb. Do you read sci-fi, Peter?
I don't.
Reading's dumb.
Yeah, like I said, books bad.
What about you, Don?
I read good and bad sci-fi.
Yeah, I have too. I don't think Don's dumb.
I'm almost sure he's not.
Yeah, so.
But again, talking to my wife.
I'm an idiot.
So I don't even know.
She thinks I'm an idiot.
I have been told though it takes one to know one. So.
I know you are, but what am I?
Yeah, exactly. Go ahead.
Your rubber or not?
Yeah, there you go.
Appropriate comeback. Good job.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, touche. All right. Speaking of robots, on our last story here from gizmodo.co.uk, you can now buy pretend food for your 2,200 pound, and that's money, not weight.
Yeah, British pound.
Fat dog.
Sony robot dog. So Jeez, what? I feel. I would expect this from Japan.
So what was crazy is this $2,900 robot dog, right?
That's $2,900 US.
Yeah,
it's like $20,000
ish, right? Let's just say $3,000, $3,000 for this robot dog. It does nothing. The guy in the article says it just runs around and yaps, and he tried to like get it to shake its hand, and it was like, nope. Well, they didn't unlock it. It wasn't programmable when they first released it. Well, these treats are ways to teach it new tricks.
They're in-app purchases?
They're in-app purchases.
Oh, man.
How much are the treats?
You have to buy, like, you get coins for using the app, and it's like a weird gamification thing, from what I could tell. So what was funny is, where do we stand on profanity on here?
I think in this case.
So, and I'm just going to read a quote, and
please.
You might have to bleep me.
So these aren't your words. Okay.
So he talks about giving them food and new bowl accessories, and it learns how to be a sentry dog and all this.
Okay.
Then it says, the new software updates allows the users to finally potty train their iBos or whatever using a new mapping feature so the robot doesn't pretend shit all over your house. This appears to be a free feature until Sony realizes it can sell you virtual poop bags.
Well...
Oh, man. And you're not even seeing the food. Like, there's a bowl, and there's food.
It's an AR thing.
It's augmented reality. You got to hold up your phone and be like, oh, he's eating the fake food.
All right. Now, see, I thought that it would be like a plastic bone or something you'd drop in the bowl and maybe used NFC, but it's AR.
Literally,
right? Reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty weak.
I tell you what, if I had that kind of money, it would not be on a dog that is robotic and yap at me.
Well, I'll tell you what, I will not be buying this food because fool me once, Sony.
Yeah, if I don't feed them, they can't poop.
Exactly, yeah. I also found a way to have my fake dog, not poop around the house. Do not feed him fake food.
I mean, well, what do you even care if a fake poops, right? I mean...
Oh, he's dragging his fake ass across the ground.
He's got fake worms. I got to give him dewormer. Now I got a digital vet bill.
Fake gland
eating
issues.
fake grass
I'm sure
again.
Those bills would be real if you took him to... I don't know, what's the Sony equivalent of AppleCare?
They're like, we got to take your temperature. Bad. It's a robot. Just plug it in and figure out what's wrong with it. So that one struck me as very odd. Do y'all have $3,000 for a robotic dog?
No,
not for that.
No,
not for one that doesn't do anything without more money.
Do you have $3,000 for proper medical care?
That'd be awesome.
That'd be cool. I gotta feed the kid and stuff. All right. Well, those were some fun stories, and I think we have a fun interview coming up next. But this is a real company, and it's he's across the globe. What do you say on the flat Earth? Because you're not supposed to say around the globe. You don't even say globe.
Well, do we consider ourselves in the center then? Because he'd be off on the edge.
Well, this is America. Obviously, it's the center.
Wait a minute. You think flat earthers think that? Do you think flat earthers have a weird disposition on like who's at the center?
I'm
the
sure
flat earthers have to pick a center, right? There's got to be one.
It's probably somewhere in the Pacific.
They probably think it's the Mercator map projection. And they're like, it's right here in the middle of the ocean.
Okay, well,
GMT, like that is the middle.
Okay, so if we're in a clock face, then
they're on the opposite edge from us.
Yeah, they're over by the other ice wall in Israel. So. Yeah, I think that's how it works. Luckily, are there still satellites?
Yeah.
In the flat Earth?
Yeah. They just stay on this side.
Oh, you mean in the flat Earth? No.
Okay. So
they're all simulations.
All right, so we're going to connect to him via a wire, but we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back with Shali Rosen, who is the CEO and co-founder of CyberArmor. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with that.
Are you a career changer or a budding tech pro who's looking to start their career in IT? I'm Wes Bryan, and along with my fellow IT Pro TV edutainer Cherokee Boose, we've just shot a new show just for you. Each week, we'll dive into topics to help you launch your career in tech. Watch how to get started in IT on YouTube now. Just head to youtube.com/ITProTV to watch, and look for new episodes every Saturday at 9 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time.
All right, welcome back to TechNado, and we're joined by our guests now. We have Shali Rosen, who is the CEO and co-founder of CyberArmor. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Good morning.
We're good. Oh, thank you for saying good morning. I know it's afternoon for you. You're over on the other side of the world for us, but thank you for taking the time to talk with us today. So, if you could take a moment and just tell people a little bit about what CyberArmor is to get started.
Oh, yes, of course. Well, CyberArmor, basically what we want to do is we want to change the way people protect environments today. And the way we want to do it is by implementing inherent zero trust to any environment. And we can talk more about the zero trust element, but the general idea is that every element in your environment is going to be continuously verified, and only verified and authenticated services will be able to speak with each other and access data.
So, yeah, if we could dig into zero trust a little bit more, that'd be helpful. I mean, I only know it as the way that every woman has treated me in a relationship has been zero trust. But when we're talking about it from a technical perspective, you kind of explained it. So you're basically you're saying nothing is trusted, even things we've used in the past. We're just verifying everything as it comes through?
Yes. Well, it started with the perimeter getting broken, right? As we change more and more applications to microservices, and what used to be one application is now multiple applications. It can be in different clouds and in different places in your organization. Suddenly you are in a way or in a place where you cannot even trust communication or workloads that are in your environment, because an attacker can get in so many ways to your environment. Zero trust is not a technology, right? Zero trust is a model. And the general notion was don't trust, verify, or trust but verify. It's all different variations of the same thing. Now, many people talk about zero trust from a user standpoint. So don't trust any user. And that's actually, I think, when the term was coined. Don't trust any user, even internal users. Always verify that the user is only doing what they're authorized to do. What we at CyberArmor want to do, we want to take it to the next level, which is don't trust the microservices that are running in your environment. Always in runtime, make sure that those services are authenticated and have not been hijacked and are indeed the same workloads and the same code that you wanted to run in your environment.
Now, I know we saw kind of like the early stages of zero trust with services that were, well, I mean, the whole software as a service model, right? Like Gmail. I might have a Gmail account, but I don't have access to any underlying servers. Google doesn't trust me. They don't really know. Well, they probably know me better than my parents, but they don't know me as an employee. So when I log into that mailbox, I have very little trust. What you guys are doing is extending that to apply to everything, right? So this would be even the developers, the people that have access to the infrastructure would still be limited in some way?
Yes, and we actually eliminate, or we don't really take care of the user point of view. What we are doing is we are actually in the data center. We work very well on Kubernetes clusters and cloud native environment, but also across any environment. And the idea is that we verify the microservices, the actual software that is running in your environment rather than the user. So let me give you an example. You just said that you as a user, you can't access another user account in Gmail, right? But the Gmail microservice within Google can access any data of any users. So if I'm as an attacker, if I'm attacking the Gmail server, or if I am able to mimic or impersonate the Gmail server, I can get access to that data. What we will do, we will actually authenticate in runtime the Gmail server itself and make sure that it's not been hacked and that it is still, the integrity of that service is still well preserved when it is accessing data. Because there's no real use of verifying the user on a software that is being hacked. I'm expecting Gmail not to be hacked. I hope Google have enough defenses around it. But imagine you can always verify it on every microservice in your organization.
So I'm kind of thinking of this like a toll plaza on the road, where you have some people that have a pass maybe in their window and they're able to just go right through because they're verified from the pass. Then you have the other people that have to go individually and pay. Now, if we're now saying that no one is trusted inherently, does this slow things down? Because I can think of the traffic jam that would cause in a toll kind of environment. Does that slow things down that you don't have to just say, oh, Gmail, I trust you, go on through? I have to go ahead and verify that each time?
Yeah, so that's actually an amazing question, and that's one of the big benefits of using platforms such as ours, because that's part of the benefit of cloud native technologies and containers and the new technologies that are out there. And what we have been able to do is we've been able, that's part of the challenge that we've been facing, is how do you do that without impacting performance, okay? And if you look at performance in software elements, there are two elements to it. There is the notion of CPU utilization, and there is the notion of latency. If you impact latency, that's the traffic jam that you are talking about. But if you are impacting utilization, basically you say you need more booths, right? And what we do create the need for more booths, but this is easy to create in the cloud native environment. It's easy to scale out. So what we usually do is we add about 3% to the CPU utilization. So if you are running in a 70% CPU utilization in your data center, you will go up to 73. But latency-wise, our impact is really negligible. Yeah, it's almost unnoticeable.
So it certainly sounds impressive. And when I was first told about this, I was trying to formulate in my head how it works, right? So how does this kind of fit together? And what you're describing, getting involved in between even an individual daemon or a containerized application of the resources accessing, to me, that's a pretty involved process. And so I was thinking, all right, well, is it proxying communications, or are you modifying the code to do extra authentication? But one of the things you guys state right on your website is that you do this with no code changes, no integrations. So how does that work? Like, how does that snap in? Like, if I already have a solution in place, maybe a WordPress website that has a MySQL database on the back end, right? How do you get in between those two resources to protect them?
That's a very good notion. So the way we work is, many companies, they put proxies, they put in the container environments, there is the notion of a sidecar container, which needs to be added to every container. Once you do all of these, you need integration, because you need to change IP tables, you need to change communication directions to go through your proxy, and not directly, let's say, from the WordPress server to the SQL that you discussed. What we do, we are actually, the way we manifest ourselves is a code of library that is actually being loaded by the operating system directly into the process that we are protecting. So the WordPress server, the WordPress process that you just mentioned, as part of its ongoing maintenance, it will now upload another library, another dynamic code library. Our dynamic code library will instrument the network I/O and the file I/O for that process. And now it will start to protect that process without changing the code. It's not an SDK-based solution, it's a library-based solution. And not only will we look at the code and make sure that it's always verified and authenticated, we will also make sure to encrypt the communication in and out between the two processes. And also, you mentioned SQL, that's a very good note. SQL is a database. We can actually even encrypt that database, the files of the database, the data at rest, and do that also without actually changing the SQL itself.
So that actually sounds similar to the way, a little more advanced, but similar to the way that like SE Linux or AppArmor works. Would this be a replacement for those technologies, or does it work alongside them?
It works alongside them. We basically use the environment variable LD preload in order to make sure that processes in the environment upload our library together with them, and that's how we start to protect it. And if you have Kubernetes or any other container orchestration tool, we are pre-integrated with them in order for them to set it up for you. So even that simple notion of stating that environment variable is something that you don't need to take care of.
So this sounds pretty amazing, mainly because it sounds like I wouldn't have to do a whole lot of work, but at the same time, I might have to do a whole bunch of work. So how does this actually? So if I approach you and say this is good, I need this. This sounds like something that would make me feel warm and fuzzy inside. What does that entail from your point of view and from my point of view?
Yes. So basically, there are two elements of our solutions. One is that library code that we just discussed. Somehow, that code of library needs to be added to the processes that you want to protect. And this can be as easy as doing nothing, or as easy, and it's still easy, of changing a configuration script on your CI/CD pipeline and adding the environment variable that we just mentioned. So it really, really depends on your environment. If you have Kubernetes environment, if you use containers, then what you do is you just take a YAML configuration file from us, you put it into the Kubernetes, and that's it. That's the integration. Now every process that Kubernetes will launch or will deploy, any container, any pod, will have our small library attached to every process in that container. And that's it. You are deployed. The second thing you need is connectivity to our backend, which can either be deployed as a SaaS model or in your own environment. And that's where all the policies and all of the protection and all of the alerts are going.
So are there limitations as far as, let's say I'm a developer and I do COBOL things, right? And I'm deciding to do COBOL microservices. I don't know why I would do that, but I'm trying to think of as possible esoteric edge cases as possible. Would this solution still work in that case, or would there be like, hey, let's develop that dynamic code library that goes in part of my CI/CD process together because we don't have an existing COBOL solution?
Yeah, so you're right. Currently, we cover all of the major, development languages. So JIT languages, dynamic code languages, Java, Python, JavaScript, of course, C++, Go, all of those applications. COBOL is something that no one really asked for at this moment. We're also supporting of all of the different operating systems, except for Mac. Okay, so if your data center uses Mac, we are less relevant for you guys. We also don't do mainframe. But we haven't encountered any technology to date that we didn't support.
And what about like with cloud platforms? Does that matter at all? I guess if you support, let's say, a particular Linux distro that could easily run on Azure or Google Cloud, are you pretty much just cloud vendor agnostic?
Yes, we are completely agnostic, and more than that, we can help you become more agnostic, because the way we protect a solution or a workload is we become part of that workload. If you now move that workload from AWS to GCP, for example, with any other technology, what you will need to do is you will need to reconfigure all kinds of security protocols and firewalls, and you need to reconfigure access list and reconfigure policies. Because we base our policies on identity that we've created for that workload, that policy moves with the workload between AWS, GCP, between operating systems, and it's completely transparent. You don't need to change anything.
All right, so if I'm interested in finding out more about CyberArmor, what's the best way to reach out to you guys?
Well, there is our website. You can use the contact us button in the website. People can happily email me. I'm srosen@cyberarmor.io. Our website is cyberarmor.io. Don't confuse it with anything else. IO is the new.com, so go there.
Yeah. And before the podcast, we were talking about some upcoming shows and stuff. It sounded like you guys were going to RSA next year.
Yeah, we'll be in RSA. We'll be in KubeCon. KubeCon is a big thing for us. The development and the DevSecOps and DevOps community. That's basically our user base, and that's the people that we like to hear feedback from and speak with. So we'll definitely be in all of those.
Fantastic. Well, I'm not sure if we're going to that yet, but if we do, we'll definitely swing by your area there. And thank you so much for taking the time today to shed some light on this for us.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
All right, and thank all of you for watching, but stay tuned because we have more Technado coming up right after this.
Will you be in or near Gainesville, Florida anytime soon? Then you should come see IT Pro TV. Make plans to visit the studios. Get a tour. Meet your favorite edutainer. See what goes on behind the scenes every day to bring the best of classroom learning to IT professionals around the world. Simply chat with the Member Services team on the IT Pro TV website and let us know when you'll be visiting. We'll see you soon.
All right, thank you so much, Charlie, for joining us there. And yeah, that was a lot. It was different than I expected it to be, and it sounded like not what you expected as well.
Zero trust. I just immediately thought of the stuff that eliminates VPNs, but this was like zero trust inside of your operating system. It's pretty hardcore.
Yeah, I didn't know you could do that.
Me either.
Stuff. No, you did. Okay.
No.
Well, that's because you couldn't, but his company makes it possible.
They figured it out. They cracked the code. So, what? All right. Hey, I want to let you know about a couple things coming up here at IT Pro TV. First of all, if you head over to itpro.tv/webinars, you can find out about upcoming and past archived webinars. And our upcoming one right now is High Velocity IT, leading your team in a VUCA environment. That's Thursday, December 12th, 2 p.m. Eastern Time with Joe Peacock, and Cherokee Boost is hosting that one. So that one should be a lot of fun, and we've got a lot of great ones that have been in our archive. The recent one we did on Desktop as a Service, or DaaS, and Threats in Disguise, digital transformation, all that cool stuff. So be sure to check those out over at itpro.tv/webinars. And while you're on the World Wide Web, continue over to go.itpro.tv/technado. There you can find out all about our 30% off coupon code for our membership to IT Pro TV. You can also find out about setting up a demo for your team if you are part of a group and want to find out all the cool features available to you there. That's at go.itpro.tv/technado. All right, so guys, I know we're filming this before. Yeah, so to us, Black Friday has not happened, or Cyber Monday, but Cyber Monday is happening when this is released. So what do you anticipate will be your highlight of Black Friday?
Furby.
Staying at home.
Staying at home. That's what I thought too. I like the Home Depot. I find that there's not the crazy lines. They have some good deals sometimes.
Yeah, home improvement stores, I can get that.
So I'll go a little bit later.
Last year we got some coffee mugs and some dog beds at Home Depot. It was part of their Black Friday whatever thing, and
it's not like the fight kind of thing. Well, I'm not going at 6 a.m. either, or 5 a.m. whenever it opens. I'm rolling in at 11 o'clock, and there's still stuff. So maybe that's the time to go to Walmart too. You don't want the doorbuster anyway. That's
so I have found here it's not as bad as like small rural areas where there's not as many places to go
and more guns.
Oh, it gets there's guns. Yes, there's guns, which are on Black Friday. So
yeah, you're like at the Walmart. So the people coming out of the store are armed more heavily than the people who just went in.
Like, no waiting period.
Yeah,
great.
That's fantastic. All right, well, thank you, all of you, for joining us, and hope you had a great holiday and continue to have a great holiday season. But we will see you back with a more normal episode next week right here on TechNado.